What a great day it's been, would you agree? Absolutely amazing speakers today. As I'm absolutely honoured to have been asked to do this slot. I think it's a privilege to be asked to speak at any success day that we have. As Sharon said, my name's Nicola Gerety, and I've been in the business for 3 years now. My background was that I was an investment banker in London for 16 years. To the latter part of my career, I was a pension funds advisor for the Irish government and other European governments. I was also an investment advisor and pension funds advisor for large corporate pension schemes globally. I had a great life. We had great money, a great lifestyle. It was very stressful. I didn't sleep much to the latter part of my career because of financial crisis, but I took that as part and parcel of what my job was all about. I then experienced redundancy during the financial crisis, and it wasn't a surprise to me. Our firm hadn't been doing so well, and redundancy wasn't unknown in banking. But this time it was a little bit different because this time there were hiring freezes all over the UK, and there was continued market volatility. And I was unemployed for longer than I had anticipated. I was going for interviews, getting to the final stage, and then employers were saying, look, we just don't have the budget at the moment for somebody of your level in the firm. So I came home and I was helping out in our family business for a little while. And it was during that time that I really sort of started thinking, you know what, maybe there could be something different for me out there. I didn't know what, but then it came to me in the form of Forever. And I was approached about the business, and I have to admit that I was approached before. When I was initially made redundant, I was approached. And I said no because the person talked to me about product on the phone all the time. And I completely prejudged what the opportunity was all about. So when the next person asked me to take a look at it, I was having a bit of a Bernie Allen moment. Is there Bernie in the room? Bernie, my head was saying no, but my mouth was saying yes. And I went along to a business presentation. And that night, I got really, really excited about what it was about. In fact, I always say it lit a fire in my belly again, for a number of different reasons. Firstly, because I saw a way that I could have my own global business. Secondly, I saw a way that I could have a career income again with stress that I could manage. I also saw a business model that really, really interested me. And that was something that I was quite passionate about. When I watched the video this morning, a fantastic video, by the way, Rex Mullins' video there, I was asking myself questions, am I contributing enough? So we joined 3 years ago. And I have to say to you that we haven't been the fastest in the business. It was 10 months to manager. And then in the second year of my business, my wings were ready to fly, but there were other things that were going on in my life. And that year, my partner's health was deteriorating. At the beginning of the year, it was things that I was noticing myself. Jamie has cystic fibrosis, and he had a heart and lung transplant 15 years ago. And each time that I looked at him, I was living in Ireland, he was in London at the time. So when I saw him, I could see little differences that were happening in front of my eyes. And then his health started really deteriorating rapidly. And at first I thought he was rejecting. And then he was diagnosed with kidney failure. And he was put on the kidney transplant list. And that year, I was worried that we didn't have time, that I didn't have enough time to spend with him. So in my business, I continued working, but I was in what I would call cruise control mode. And, I learned a lot that year. That year, I learned that even if you have the wings to fly, if your heart's not in it, you will not take off that ground. So your head and your heart have to be in the right place. So in June last year, we were ready. We dusted ourselves off. Medical staff, we work with some amazing people with Jamie's health. and they managed to stabilize his condition. And in June last year, I took the decision that we were going to up a gear and come out of cruise control. And I started coaching with Molly Harvey because I needed to take myself to the next level, but I also needed to develop consistency in my business, which was severely lacking. And through the coaching with Molly and consistency in my business, we started to build a business again. And through the model that I'm going to talk to you about today, we achieved Eagle Manager this year. Thank you. So my slot today is the role of the sponsor and an FBO's first 30 days in the business. I want to start this slot by talking a little bit about sponsoring and some of my early days within this business, because I had a very steep learning curve. When you work in a career like mine, we work with people who are similar all the time. In fact, we're recruited because we're similar. We were actually personality tested a lot of the time, so the same type of people worked on the floor. So I was used to working with the same people, okay? So when I joined the business, I knew that there were going to be certain skills that I needed to learn. Those skills because I wanted to build a business, but I wanted to leverage all the great benefits that we have of having a network marketing business. So in the early days, the best way that I could describe my business was that it was like a revolving door. People joined, they came in, they did a couple of scoots around that door. Some managed 2 rounds, some managed 4, and then they spilled out the other side, and we never saw them again. And I thought, oh, Mother of God, what's going on here? And I watched it, and I just thought, wow, what's going on? But the most interesting part was that I had to learn that sponsoring was not just about signing a form, because anyone can sign a form. It was the art of building relationships. I actually forgot I had a presentation here. It's the art of building relationships. Oops, sorry. Building relationships. And taking the focus off me and actually taking a genuine interest in what people want to achieve. At first, I've been all kinds of sponsors in this business. At first, I was so keen to have people on my team that I was so excited that when they asked me a question, I was like, I'll do this, I'll do that for you. Oh, you want me to look up that? No problem, I'll do it for you. Don't worry. And I was busy, but I was busy building other people's businesses for them, and there was no growth in my CCs at all. I was flatlining every single month. And then the reality hit me when one of my team members used a reference about me that I prefer to erase from my mind, but I'll tell you today, it went something like mother hen or mama bear. And I severely had to do a re-register of how I was working my business. And then I decided I was going to take drastic action, that I was actually going to go, and I actually went to the other end of the spectrum. I thought, you know what this needs? I just need to get tough. I need to put some rules in place, get regimented about it. And that brought results, but probably not the results that you'd want in your business. So my caveat on that is, don't try this at home. So I had to learn what the middle ground was. I also needed to learn some of the language that I needed to use to work effectively with people. Statements like, my expectations are, if I do this, will you do that? One of the commitments I ask for is this, and in return, I will do this. In this way, I was creating much more of a win-win environment for everyone I was working with. As this business is all about relationships, I needed to be aware about how I operated and what it takes to get the best out of people. And this started with my attitude to the person who was actually joining my team, and that there was never to be a 2cc thought. It's important that the person that I'm working with understands that this is a business of two levels. The first, that we can use and recommend great products and build a fantastic retail business. The second, that we have this whole business of network marketing. As a sponsor, it was down to me to utilize and make sure that we used our business model to ensure that the person who was joining me understood what we had to offer, and I, in turn, understood what they wanted to achieve. It's about building the very first 30-day experience, the best that we can do for somebody who joins our team, in what I call the familiarization stage. It's all about guidance during that stage. It's all about taking someone and building the structure to take someone from interdependent to independent, holding their hand to make sure that they know exactly what they're doing. Each person who joins your team will be different, but I thought what I would do today is I'm going to walk you through what we do in my team in the first 30 days of joining the business. It's not a one-size-fits-all plan, but we have the same information flow going through the team. So we plan each person who joins our team to have 4 planning or information sharing sessions. And I'm going to share with you today some of those ideas and how we work with them during that time. So within the first 48 hours of somebody signing the application form, we have a planning meeting in the diary. And usually that coincides with the receipt of your box. In fact, most of the time I try and plan it so that it coincides with the receipt of the box. Before I actually start that planning meeting, I want to ensure that the person is doing the right things with the box that they've received. And the reason that I do this is because when I received my box, I was very excited. And I took everything out, opened it all up, took a look at everything, flicked through the literature, put it all back in, and then I put it in the corner of my living room, and I didn't reopen it again until the night of my lunch. Really good going. So I encourage them to use everything in the box. And I'm going to highlight something here as your role of the sponsor and understanding what a sponsor is all about. Sometimes we're fantastic at telling people what to do and why to do things, how to do things, but we don't tell people why they need to do it, okay? And the reason I ask them to use everything within that box is because I want them to form an opinion on those products. Because then when they have their launch, they can say, you know what, we've been using that for a week. I know what it feels like, what it tastes like, I look like after it, what the benefits are, and they can talk like they know these products. So my focus then is on doing the best planning meeting that I can do with that person. And how I want that person to feel after that planning meeting is that they are valued and that they have committed to joining my team, and that there is a plan for what they want to achieve from this business. So we then cover, We'll then go into the planning meeting, and I use the Steps to Manage Your booklet. This booklet, if you're not using it, can navigate you to an income of a few €100 per month to a few €1,000 per month to a lifestyle-changing income of several thousands and thousands per month, and building a structure for your business over the next 3 to 5 years. So do utilize it. It is a fantastic tool and workbook within your business. So we'll go into goal setting, and I'll start to talk to people about their short-term and long-term goals. And the short-term are your need goals. These are the goals that are going to change your life at the moment. And the want goals, which are the longer-term goals. Don't be surprised if people find this difficult when you meet them. Some people will have pages written. Some people will have nothing written. The reason that people find this so difficult is because most of you in this room sit in what I call the employed state. So you're employed by somebody. You have a boss. So you work within a structure, and that structure is aimed at achieving their goals and the company's goals. So it's very rare that somebody will have sat down and asked you personally what your goals are. And this is the only company that will ask you what your goals are and what you want to achieve. So I start to ask questions like, what do you want to achieve? Why forever? How do you want to work? And what's really important to you right now? I explained the meaning of case credits, but I don't just explain case credits. I actually associate the monetary value of doing a case credit. So what it will mean for the person if they do the activity to achieve 1 case credit, 4 case credits. Because when people see money associated with case credit, then it becomes something that they can link to in terms of what they want from the business. I focus on the marketing plan, and I focus on connecting their goals that we've discussed to the marketing plan so that they get emotionally attached to where they need to be on that marketing plan. I also introduce the concept of the who do you know list, but I only introduce this concept in the first meeting if they have a desire to build a team. I'll book their first and second launch and discuss other ways to build their retail, and all of those other ways to build their retail are contained within your Steps to Manager booklet. I then cover the importance of training and business presentation. We are so lucky that Forever place such an importance on training. We are so fortunate that they spend money to sponsor meetings all over the country. I refer to it as their night in the office. And I explain to them the importance of attending. That meeting can either be a place for you to learn, a place for you to support others, or for you to take a guest to. So all really important areas of your business. I go through how to invite someone, because sometimes they're bursting to invite someone to their first business presentation. And I'll also go through how to close the business presentation with somebody that they've invited, because I may not be available to attend that local meeting on that given night. So closing words like, what interested you most in that presentation? Can you see how by working with us, you can achieve whatever their hot button is? So before we close our planning meeting, I'll give the person a list of tasks to complete at home, and this we do in the form of checklists. So some of the items will include organise dates for launches if we haven't already done that at the first planning meeting. Some people don't have a schedule that they can book in advance. Join team pages, so all of you may have team pages and you explain what the team pages are about, how to utilize them, perhaps provide them with some of the group links as well that you need to utilize or that they will find useful. Attend their local training and business presentation. Register on foreverliving.com, so test that their ID is working and their password and get to know the website and what it's all about. Continue to use the products and recommend them to family and friends. Continue with their who do you know list. I also asked them to profile their first 5 to 10 people, and those profile sheets are within your Steps to Manager booklet. And I asked them not to contact anyone until I sit down with them again, because we want to ensure that the approach is right for each person. And then I'll recommend Some obviously tapping into some of our recorded team trainings. I do team trainings online with some of my team. We have a rolling program. Some of you will have similar programs going on, or you may have recorded team trainings on your pages, so you can recommend what works best within your own team. I also have recommended reading, and you know, it's funny, we go through different books and different things each time, but you know, recently I forwarded a link to my team. And it was something that I read when I first joined the business, and I had forgotten how good it was, and it'll become part of my checklist now in the future. It was a YouTube link to Making the Shift, which is an amazing CD which you can buy on Knowledge is King, or you can find the link on YouTube. But it's fantastic at establishing the entrepreneurial mindset and making that shift in your own mindset of running your own business. So that's really the tasks that I asked them to complete at home. For me, they need to complete those tasks before we do the second meeting, because I cannot take them forward in the business unless they've completed these tasks. So 7 days later, 7 days after the first planning meeting, I will book a second planning or information session. And we'll have spoken in between, some people more than others. It depends on the relationship you're building and how quickly they want to build. But the very first thing that I do in that second planning meeting is that I ask them, how are you? And it's, you know, it's important because we ask these things on the phone, but we're not sure during that week. They may be working during that week, and you haven't had a chance to catch up with them properly. But we need to check in with people. And it's really important that we do this, particularly in the first week. And then I do something which is really important within this business. I wait. And that WAIT acronym stands for Why Am I Talking? And it's so important that we register sometimes and pause. Because during that first 7 days, you may be working with somebody who is working full-time. You may be working with somebody who has family, lots of children, they're working around, they're plate spinning, they're juggling, and this might be the first time that they're actually trying to fit another business into the nooks and crannies of their life. So I don't know if you guys can remember your first 7 days, but for some people, it can be a little bit overwhelming. It also might be in those 7 days that they've experienced their first level of negativity in the business. So it's important that we iron out any creases that may have occurred during that first week. I'll also touch base and review some of the tasks in the first planning meeting that we talked about and left them to complete at home. We'll review their launch if they've already had a launch already. We'll talk about the launch, whether it met their expectations, the orders that they got, whether they've placed the orders already. We'll review the feedback forms to see if anyone's interested in taking a look at the business. Maybe there might be somebody who's interested in hosting an evening for them. So we'll talk about it in general and make sure that they're happy about how they're progressing. If the launch hasn't been booked, then we'll talk about their expectations, the practicalities of inviting, and really go through any questions that they might have. At this point, I'll then go through volume mapping. Now, this is a bit of jargon, isn't it, that some people won't be aware of when they're starting in the business. But I start to link the activities with CCs. Because when you start to link the activities with the CCs, I can show them how they can plan their volume, but also the volume of their team. I'll also review if they have a goal imminent, that they may need to raise activity in order to achieve the volume required. It's at this point that I may share with them a goal to manager. Now that is really dependent on the person that I'm sitting with and talking to. It could be a 5, 6, 7 month plan, but that's particular to that person. We then move on to contacting people. And we're going to work on some of the tasks that they've completed with the task list that they've worked on after the first planning meeting. So we'll review the 5 to 10 profiles that they've worked on during that week. And we'll discuss each person and the correct approach. And then I'm going to go through how to do the calls. I'll also discuss other approaches like email, Facebook messages, face-to-face, texts, whatever it might be. And we'll practice them together. I then discuss the next phases, which will be either a one-to-one or a business presentation. And I'll explain to them that I will do some one-to-ones with them to enable them to learn how to do a one-to-one, but also to learn how to present our business correctly. I'll then take people through the activity tracker. And one of the things that I like to say to people is, I don't ask people in my team to do anything that I don't do personally myself. So this activity tracker is in your Steps to Manager, and it's a great tool because it keeps everything together. But I show them mine during that planning meeting, and I show them how I'm using it to track activity and to plan further months. And in the future, I'll use it to track my statistics of how many people I need to talk to get to a one-to-one, how many one-to-ones I need to do to get a guest to a business presentation. I'll review social media. It's important within our business. It is an add-on to our business. It is not the core part of our business. I'll discuss the do's and don'ts. I'll refer to compliance. Nobody likes going through compliance, believe me. But it's important with our business, in our business, and forever have very high standards. And we don't want people making medical claims about our products or going against compliance rules. I'll explain the 80-20 rule on their personal pages, 80% lifestyle, 20% forever. And I'll explain that they represent forever as a company when they work with us and when they post on their Facebook page. I remember watching something from Angela Cochran, and she says to her team sometimes, would Rex be happy if he took a look at your forever or your Facebook page? So have a think about that. So we move into planning session 3. And this is held another 7 days after planning session 2. And I work on 2 areas during this session. The first is expanding the Who Do You Know list, which very much links into the presentation that Elaine talked about earlier in building your contacts. So memory joggers, contact marketing, referrals, and helping people to build the skills to do these tasks. I'll then talk about customer care, and customer care is something that I am really hot on in my team. And the reason why was because I had a launch, and I never contacted any of my customers after the first launch. That was me. So we talk about why to do it, and the reason why is because Forever isn't about going out and getting 20 new customers every single month. It's fantastic that we get new customers, please don't get me wrong, but Forever is about building a regular base of customers as well. So when do we contact them people? So we talk to them a couple of days after they've received their products. We talk to them a couple of weeks once they're getting into their products and taking them or using them. And then within the marvelous activity tracker, I have noted in my activity tracker when the customer is going to be running low on the product. So I will touch base with them again. So that's session 3. And in the final planning information session, it's a review session. And at this point, I am asking questions like, how are you? I'm asking questions of like, is the business what you expected it to be? Are they 4cc active? If not, why not? And what do we need to do what do we need to work on to help them to achieve this? They might be going for promotion already, so let's have a look at where they're at with that. Perhaps they've done a great base month. I then look at strengths and weaknesses. We identify the areas where they feel confident and the areas where they don't feel so confident. And we praise them for their strengths and we work with them and train them on the areas for improvement. I then revisit the business cycle. The reason I do this is to ensure that they understand each quadrant, why it flows, and what they need to do within each quadrant. I ensure that I link it to their goals and show them that by working the cycle, they're going to generate the volume needed to achieve their goals. So why work this way? Well, we found that working this way gives us a completely duplicable structure. We have a great information flow that goes through the team, and it's created a really strong and stable team in developing skill set. It means that everyone is pulling in the right direction as well. So that's really what our 30-day program is all about in that familiarization stage. And I just wanted to complete my slot today by talking about the role of a sponsor. A great sponsor is a great coach. And a great coach is somebody who considers the needs of each FBO within their team. It's somebody who observes carefully with an objective view. It's someone who asks questions wisely and avoids being a teller. It's somebody who communicates options and resources, helping think sometimes beyond first visible impressions to other viable options. And also someone who holds accountable so that it's a win-win environment for everyone who works with us. And this allows leaders to grow personally and improve their performance to maximum effectiveness. I want to thank you all for your time today. I wish you every success in your sponsoring and coaching great leaders within the business. Thank you so much.